Hello everybody and welcome back to Factstrom 3. Today we're gonna explain the King Edmund Ironside, the warrior king who almost saved the England. So let's get started. What if I told you that England once had a king who fought 6 bloody battles in a single year? A king who refused to kneel even all hope was lost. A king whose legacy was stolen by Danish conqueror just weeks after he died mysteriously. This is not the forgotten legend. This is the real story of King Edmund Ironside. In 1016, while much of England surrendered to Viking invaders, one man stood tall, the son of a broken king, the last hope of Anglo-Saxon England. Today we dive into the life, rise, war, and mysterious death of men who might have saved England from foreign rule if only he lived a little longer. You can think how many things he can do. Let's start chapter 1, The Shadow of Æthelred. Our story begins with a warrior, but with a Viking, King Æthelred, known to history as Æthelred the Unready, was Edmund's father. A ruler famous for indecision, bad counsel, and political chaos, England under Æthelred was under siege, literally. From the late 900s into the early 1000s, Viking raiders returned with a vengeance, not just for loot, but for land, and at the center of their ambition was one ruthless leader, Svend Forkbeard, King of Denmark. As Viking armies burned towns and exacted brutal taxes called dangled, Æthelred could do little. In 1013, Sven Forkbeard conquered England. Æthelred fled to Normandy with his sons, including young Edmund. But everything changed in 1014. Sven Forkbeard died suddenly. His son, Canute, was just a teenager and not yet ready to hold England. The Anglo-Saxon invited Æthelred back, and Edmund came with him, too. But the country was broken and the Viking threat far from over. Now the chapter 2 starts, Edmund's first step into history. In 1015, Cnut returned. He bought a massive army and navy that could match English fleet. His eyes were set on the English crown. This is where Edmund stepped into the light. Æthelred was now sick and weakened. He was losing allies. His kingdom was fractured. Nobles betrayed the crown. Others stayed neutral, and some even joined Canute. But Edmund, still in his early 20s, chose to fight. With almost no support from his father's court, Edmund raised his own forces in the Danelaw and the eastern part of England, already heavily settled by Danes. It was here he showed his iron resolve and earned the name Edmund Ironside, a name that would terrify his enemies and echo through the ages. Let's start chapter 3 now. Rebellion and Battle. In late 1015, Edmund led a bold move. He married Æthelred, the widow of a powerful nobleman from the Danelaw. This political marriage gave him control over key territories and their armies. With her alliance, Edmund sparked a rebellion against both the Viking and his own father's court. Then came 1016, the bloodiest year of Edmund's life. 1. The Battle of Penselwood, the first real clash. Edmund's army met Canute's forces in Somerset. The result? Inconclusive. Heavy losses on both sides. But Edmund proved he could stand his ground. Number 2. The Battle of Shetland. Next came a brutal two-day battle. Neither side gained victory, but Edmund's reputation grew. Number 3. Political twist. In April 1016, Æthelred the Unready died. The throne was now open. The English Wheaton Royal Council elected Edmund as king. But in the north and east, the Danelaw chose Canute. England was now split. A civil war had begun. Now here is our chapter number 4, the final stand against Canute. In the month that followed, Edmund launched a whirlwind campaign. He fought 5 more battles against Canute in a single year, each one fiercer than the last. Battle of Brentford. Edmund launched a surprise attack and drove the Danes back victory. Battle of Otford. Another clash, another win of Edmund. The English were beginning to believe that his warrior king might actually save their realm, but Canute was no ordinary opponent. The two armies met again at the Battle of Ascendon in October 1016. This was the most decisive battle. Edmund fought bravely, reportedly even slicing through enemies' lines personally. But betrayal struck again. Some English nobles, possibly Edric's Triana, a known traitor, fled or switched sides mid-battle. Edmund's army was defeated, but instead of total surrender, he did something shocking. Now, chapter 5 starts. The peace treaty that never lasted. After the Battle of Ascendon, Canute expected Edmund to flee, but Edmund stood tall. His courage, despite the odds, impressed even his enemies. So the two kings met, and they struck an agreement that divided England. Edmund would keep Wessex, southern England. Canute would rule the north and east. The deal was clear that when one king died, the other would inherit all of England. And then, just weeks later, something shocking happened. Now, here starts our chapter number 6, the mysterious death of a warrior king. Edmund died suddenly on 30 November 1016, only a few weeks after the treaty. How? No one knows for sure, but some chroniclers whisper of assassination, possibly on Canute's order. Others says it was illness, perhaps a wound from the battle, or something more natural. But the timing was convenient, too convenient. This sudden death handed Canute the entire kingdom without another fight. And so Edmund Ironside, the man who had defied death again and again, was gone, buried at Glastonbury Abbey, far from the grand royal tombs of other kings. His name began to fade, but not his legacy. Now, chapter number 7, The Lost Legacy of Edmund Ironside. Canute became king of all England. His reign was long and powerful. He married Æthelred's widow, Emma of Normandy, and ruled as both conqueror and peacemaker. But Edmund's bloodline did not vanish. His sons, Edmund, Ætheling, and Edward the Exile, were sent into hiding in Europe. One of them, Edward, would one day return to England and father a daughter. That daughter's name, Margaret of Scotland, and from her would descend a new royal line, linking Edmund Ironside to the Scottish kings and eventually to the royal houses of Britain. In other words, Edmund's line lived on. Now at the end, the king who almost saved the England. In a single year, Edmund Ironside fought more battles than most kings do in a lifetime. He fought not just for a crown, but for a kingdom, a pupil, and a legacy. He stood when others fled. He rose when others fell. And though his reign was not short, his courage was timeless. History may have forgotten his crown, but we remember his sword. We remember the Iron King who refused to bend. In the end, I just want to say thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into lost English royalty, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more royal history stories every week or every day in my shorts.